Eon was blasting at Rojo and Turbine, but had been stopped momentarily by Kundo. They demanded to know just what they were doing. They were close to finally getting what they want. But Kundo corrects them that this is what Eon wants, not what he wants. Rook Blanco had showed him many images of beautiful places on Earth, but he'd never believed them until seeing this beauty for himself. Surely a planet with such beauty deserves to be protected. Growing angry, the time-traveling villain blasted a time ray at Kundo, but a large crystal had shot up out of the ground, protecting him from the blast. This confused both of them as they turned, seeing Diamond Head nodding to Kundo, who then nodded back and used the stone cutter to crack the crystal and send the broken top bit flying at Eon, who had no choice but to dodge out of the way, with Ben and the others charging towards them, ready to continue the fight. With Kundo having joined them, this made things far more difficult, as Ben set up many large crystals around them for the Ravonagander to take shelter behind and knock the ground whenever Eon began to charge up any sort of blasts, making him have to resort to using the blade instead. Ben was handling direct combat while Luma was throwing the crystal shield to Garlax and was throwing chunks of broken crystal instead. Eon aimed for the Omnitrix, but Ben put a crystal barrier around it to keep them from being able to cause any damage, and continued fighting with his sharpened arms, swinging them like blades, with Garlax coming up fast. Though Eon tried to blast them, the shield and Kundo's stonecutter kept them from getting a good chance and shot in. Reverb contacted Gwen's plumber badge and told her to get everyone clear. He's ready to unleash everything. Hearing this, she then proceeded to do just that, calling for a retreat because something was about to go down, as Garlax had slammed Eon into the ground with his fist and began to make a retreat like Gwen had called out, along with Ben and Luma as well. Rojo and Turbine were already out of the way, being up in the air. Eon slowly stood up and mocked them all for running like cowards, as a disc appeared in front of him, followed by another, then another. Several discs had appeared in 3 rows, all at different points, so as to not block one another, confusing the time-traveling villain, as we cut to Reverb calling out the phrase, Echo Chamber! And all of the discs unleashed their sonics at once, while they then also began spinning. The discs then began to spin slowly at first, but gradually gaining up speed, with the sonics hitting Eon from all sides, keeping them in place and causing them immense pain as the discs acted as a tornado of sonic, all blasting directly at the eye of the storm, which Eon was locked in currently. Luma was impressed with the technique and said such as the discs continued faster and faster. Cracks began to appear in Eon's armor as he cried out in pain, with his gauntlets also cracking and the energies feeding back onto himself as his own suit turned on him and began aging him rapidly, as he then exploded into nothing but a pile of dust. Reverb then began stopping the discs and having all the discs recombine and return to his body. He then spoke, saying that he'd told Eon they were paying one way or another. With Eon now taken care of, Paradox was able to join the group and greet them, saying hello to them all. Kundo was about to attack, but they all told him to leave Paradox alone, because this one is a friend of theirs. The Ravanakai master then apologized to Paradox for the misunderstanding, though Paradox didn't seem to mind all that much about it. He'd told them all they've done good work there today. Ben asked Paradox if he was going to get rid of the disc, to which they'd said they were, with the mouth of truth being sat upon the ground beside them before Rojo landed her bite. Paradox told them that he would return the artifact minus the hands of Armageddon, as he knew of a place to get rid of them for eternity, but that they should all be headed back to Bellwood now. Ben agreed, and they all did just that. The High Magistrata was there and asked Ben how everything had gone, and he'd given her a full report before asking the group if they want to keep doing that sort of thing, touring around and taking down bad guys. They'd be getting paid for it, of course. Rojo had actually enjoyed herself and said that she'd do it, Turbine adding that she'd go if Rojo was going. Garlax and Luma looked at one another and talked it over for a minute before both of them agreed to joining as well. Kundo also said that he'd like to help protect the universe if it's full full of world like Ravana and Earth, to which Ben assured that it was. They then nodded, wanting to do this too. Ben then turned to Reverb, asking if he was joining them. Reverb told them that since it'd be steady pay, he'd join. Besides, someone needed to keep the rest of them on track. Ben nodded in response to that statement, saying that speaking of, he'd decided who would be acting as successor to the leadership role of the Universal Watch, and they'd all looked at him curious to hear who'd he chosen exactly. Ben told them that he decided Reverb would be leader because he was the only one who kept his focus on the mission at hand. As the others had been fighting over leadership, his main focus was always what they should have been focusing on. He'd also seen that they were able to keep the others in line and on task without excess fighting, as the others had done to one another. The others listened to what Ben said and were ashamed as they let being leader get to them when Reverb didn't, and accepted that decision of Reverb being the new leader of the group. Maggie then said that they could start once they completed plumber basic training. They did still need to learn how this side of the law works after all, and they nodded, ready to go right away. The last thing we see was Ben and Gwen getting a welcome home party, and Albedo jokingly asked if they were ready to get back to it here on Earth, but Ben told them not just yet, as they still had one more place they needed to go, confusing them. We then see them all enjoying the party, followed by the U-Watch crew heading to the academy. We then are greeted with the scene of a beautiful waterfall, and slowly move back to see Ben and Gwen curling up together on the couch, with Gwen saying that Ben was right. They did need this before getting back to work, as he nodded in response, and she leaned up to kiss him, with him leaning down to meet her halfway, sharing a kiss together, just relaxing, finally home and in their own house and able to just relax.